Good morning, my name's Penny and welcome to my YouTube channel. Right, today I thought we could do shape and form. So slight confession, here we go. So when I do photography, I look at what I want to see and I think, oh, that's a nice picture, and that is my thought process, and then I press the button and there we go. But as we're in lockdown, I think this is an opportunity to step up our work a little bit and maybe investigate why and for what reason we want to take a picture. So I'm going back to my college days almost, and but with an older person's brain, so hopefully it's actually going to sink in. So today I'm hoping to do shape and form, and I'm going to try and take a couple of shots showing shape and form, and start trying to improve my own work, so when I actually get out and start taking pictures, there's a little bit more thought process, and I thought maybe you could come along with this journey with me. There is a chance, because there's a chance that I'm going to take 2 steps back with my photography, and the pictures at the moment are going to look rubbish, but that is in the theory that I'm going to learn more and then take a massive step forward and hopefully improve my work. So anyway, we can only wait and see. I hope you manage to stick with me and keep that in mind when you see what pictures we've produced. So I haven't produced anything yet, so let's get on with it. Okay, so I'm just outside the garden. This is our fence to the garden. I'm actually on a track that goes to other houses, so if anyone is going to drive out, I'm going to have to move my equipment. So, but I'm shooting in the garden, into the garden, so I think that's technically in the garden. Now, I've found a snail shell snails died a long time ago, and the shell is all bleached by the sun, but there's dead ivy, but it's actually grown through the snail shell, so I think that might be a nice example of shape. So what I'm going to do, actually, what might be a good idea, is if I turn the camera on, and let's see if we can focus up properly and get the right exposure. I haven't done anything yet. So what are we on? We're on 100 ISO and f8 I'm just going to stick with. So I'm going to change my shutter speed to get it at the right exposure. So that's saying it's the right exposure at 320th of a second, so it's quite bright at the moment. It's quite contrasty, but that's quite good, the contrasty at the moment, because we are doing shape and form. So even though the light is smack on the front of this, so there is some shadow, it should help. Right, so let's get our histogram up just to have a check of ourselves, because it's right. And the histogram doesn't fully, I'm going to lighten it up slightly to what my light meter saying inside the camera, because the histogram is quite far over to the dark side, so I've just lightened it up a little bit. But what I might do is do one what my light meter says as well, because I've said in previous videos that digital reads more in shadow anyway. So if it's very bright and very dark, then you know you don't want to bleach out the bright areas if you're going to edit it later. So if I just put this on video and press that, then you can see what I'm looking at, which is a snail shell. God, very highly overexposed on my face. And if you can see, if I put my finger through it, here we go, it's grown through the shell here. It's quite interesting. Also, what have we got the shadow of? That's the fence. That's the shadow of the fence behind. So that's a bit of shape. We could use that to our benefit or against. I could move the fence. I don't know if you can see the shadow moving as I push and roll the fence. And to take us into the picture is this dead piece of ivy here. So, you know, as a still life, I'm not sure that that's a bad shot. It's quite interesting, or it interested me. So let's try and get a picture of this. So let's get rid of, I've got to stop saying so as well. Sorry, what can I say? Let's get rid of that. Let's make sure, one thing I didn't check was how sharp it was. Not particularly. I just showed you all that and it's not very sharp. I do apologise. So let's sharpen that up a little bit. And I'm sharpening up on the centre of the snail shell, because that is the main point of interest for me. That is the shape I'm going for. And let's take that. It's fairly simple. And we're going to go slightly underexposed as well. And take that. Right, let's have a good close look at that shot. Oh, there's some beautiful texture on there. I mean, if it wasn't in such a difficult place, it would be worth getting my cheap extension tubes out, but we have done that to a death, so we won't do that today. I hope you can hear me. It's extremely windy today. I do apologise if there's wind noise. That was fairly simple. I feel like we've done it, and I'll show you the shot now. So I'm setting up some stones to show some white and dark, or light and dark stones, to show shape and form. I've set it up. It's been a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. I thought I was going to just stick some stones on the table and arrange them, but it's actually really difficult to arrange them into a shape that you like. I've ended up putting them on a black piece of card because I don't want anything to shine through. I'm thinking very contrasty, and I actually drew a line on the black card to put the stones on. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some water on the stones, because that tends to bring out the contrastiness of the stones. I've got myself a paintbrush and a bucket of water. So I have already taken a shot, so if this all goes wrong, I've got a shot. So because we can't go backwards on the, I really don't want to have to pick them all up again and reset it all up. But these things always take longer. I've also got my polarizer with me, which I may not use. We'll just have to see. But I was just thinking if the shine is too bad on it. So let's get this all nice and wet. You see, now what I thought was that black stones are actually brown now they're wet, but I think that's going to add interest actually. So let's get this all wet. Move them around a bit now, a little bit of sorting out that may be needed. And now they're wet as well, some actually interesting colours. It's going to be a completely different shot. So I'm glad I took a photo before I'd done this, and then I can choose the best one I want. I think I'm going to prefer this, but I don't know, because I was thinking black and white, but I might change my mind. That's why shooting in RAW for this sort of thing as well is good, because it gives you might have a vision in mind, but it gives you the space to be creative once you start editing, if you like editing. I'm personally not that keen on editing, but I do think it adds to pictures if you edit them. So let's get that all back into position again. Try not to have too many gaps between the stones themselves. Let's have a look at that on the back of the camera. Okay, I'm liking that. That's quite nice. Just move that. I've been having terrible trouble to get this pattern right. Really didn't consider that it would be so difficult. I never thought I'd be playing around with a few stones quite so much. But I never thought I was going to move the actual base around, but it's easier to move the base with the stones on around than move the camera around, so I'm glad I done that. That might be better. So check our focus again. With this sort of thing, I think probably very important to be properly sharp. It's always important to have sharp what you want sharp. I'm not using my polarizer. I quite like the glare, so the polarizer would take the glare off. Quite like where the light is catching the stones. So I'm not going to use my polarizer. I'm going to keep the shine on the stones. It's quite nice. So all I'm doing is checking my focus. I'm on f8. That is the sharpest point on this sharpest aperture on this particular lens. It's not a massive depth of field, obviously, so I feel that's probably the right way to go. Obviously, we'll find out when I show you the picture now. Thank you. Okay, so you've just been watching me shoot my favourite tree in the garden, and let me see, can you see it? Ah, there it is, just this one here. I love this tree. It's got some beautiful shapes, but I've never been able to shoot it particularly well because just the garden around it, there's always something distracting around it, so I've never been able to do it justice. But we're doing shape and form, and it's got some really lovely branches, so I've taken my favourite bit and actually shot up underneath it, so sky behind and a few other bits of tree, so hopefully that will reduce the messiness. So we'll see how that turns out. I will show you the picture now. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please subscribe, please share, please like. I really would appreciate it. I just, yeah, it's just great. So I will see you next week. Thank you. Bye bye.